Welcome to our listeners, welcome viewers. It's To The Point for today, Wednesday, the 11th day of February, 2026. Good morning to those of our social media platforms. As usual, whatever part of the world you tuned in via, whether you're listening or viewing, thank you for being with us this morning here on today's edition of To The Point. It's Government Wednesday, as we usually call it, on Wednesdays here on the program. And representing today, we have the Honorable, of course, RedHead with us this morning. So, good morning. How are you doing?
Thank you very much.
Happy Independence and everything. Still have that little notion to say that.
Definitely. Happy New Year, Happy Independence, everything all in one. Good morning to you, GT and GBN, and your listeners, both home and abroad. Probably I would like to start off by extending our deepest condolences and sympathies to the family of that young lady who tragically was killed. We certainly empathize with them. The government is doing everything quietly within its sphere to be able to assist this family. It is not going to be easy, and also the community. And so we are calling really for a united approach as expressed by Senator Gloria Thomas only yesterday, and she speaks both as the minister and chairperson of the National Democratic Congress, and so we stand by her statements that has been put out on the matter, and we again continue to empathize with the family. In particular, we want to make this point very in the onset. This is something that is extremely sensitive, and therefore it is not necessary to be making political statements and trying to divide. I think what we want to do is to promote the idea that we need a solution, in addition to this being a problem that has been rampant for many, many years. And so our focus at this point is on the family and the community where this tragedy took place.
All right. And certainly I know the family and listeners and viewers are certainly will welcome, of course, the statement you're making there as part of the party itself. Yeah. So from your perspective, situations like this, it's unpredictable. Mm-hmm. No one could predict. It may not be an individual committing the crimes that he may have predicted have done. There are various individuals who become victims of individuals on an island. As a political organization, as the National Democratic Congress, sir, what would you like to see, especially to individuals who are having those particular mindset? And I'm not sure you could touch them in any way, physically anyway, but it touching them in some way that they would deter themselves from wanting to harm others. Right. I know we can't predict what individuals going to do. Yeah. Sometimes folks get themselves in a situation that for some reason, after a conversation with them, they say they can't remember what they did. You understand? True. How does that make you feel? And what would you like to say to individuals over there? There could be someone listening and having that particular thought pattern right now.
Mm-hmm. No, well, it's always very difficult to get in the mindset of a criminal. What I would say or suggest, at least speaking from a layman's term, is that we should try our best to be good citizens. And being good citizens doesn't mean that you're righteous more than Christ himself. It just simply means that you follow the rules, you do what is necessary to, most importantly, uplift your community, and you engage people as genuine as possibly as you can in terms of your neighbors, family. If your relations just doesn't work out with somebody, that's your right to, go. And it's always easier to remove yourself from problems than to put yourself in problems. This will be my advice. We need tolerance in society, yes, but we also need good decision making. And again, it speaks to a lot of the upbringing of citizens in terms of what they may be going through, their own environment, their experience, which is in a sense manufacturing some of these instances where we see deeply rooted problems from inception, and it is manufacturing criminals of that nature. But on the other hand, the state has its responsibility to look at the matter, and the state here is broken down certainly in the three arms, which is the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. The laws is one element, and it's important that we always amend, upgrade, enhance wherever we can. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the question of sentencing, enforcement. And we also, as a society, need preventive measures. This is why it's important for young people to be educated about sex, not in the sense that you're educating them to go and commit the act, but you're educating them particularly on the don'ts and how to protect themselves in instances where these things do occur. Because like the manslaughter which occurred, this particular issue of rape is dominating Grenada's annual assizes almost every single year. And so whether it's domestic rape, whether it's just rape by stranger, that sort of thing, it is a cause for concern. And so, the nation itself needs to put the brakes, so to speak, on the violence that comes with that form of the abuse and assault, etc., and particularly against women and young women and girls in particular. So there is a concern which is stemming from a long history of it in terms of the pattern, which we ought to be concerned with. The question is, what are the measures that we can now implement, not as government or state only, but as a collective, to be able to reduce this? Do we need more solar lights in communities to brighten it up, to enhance security and safety? Do we need more community style leadership that liaises with the police, so that in instances where that instance, as expressed, where the individual was out in a community, there could be a monitoring system to be able to monitor that particular individual, not necessarily on a wide scale and national and creating the hysteria, but that the teams, the people responsible, required to do that monitoring, could be able to do it, and they're reporting it so they know when he is moving. So there are a number of things that could come out of this, and I hope that the conversation after the young lady is laid to rest would be more about how do we solve this once and for all. The blame game is not going to help us, and I am not in any way, shape or form of any opinion that we need to engage in a blame game. What we need is, as a society, to sit, look, ask ourselves the question, why, and are we manufacturing criminals? The other thing is, I think probably we need to concern ourselves with it. At the prison, this question of, I would say, maybe even sexual abuse is going on. I'm saying when people talk about crime and repeat offenders, you have to ask yourself, why is this happening? You have to dig extremely deep, and you can't just use plaster to try and bar that wound. And I think it's something that as a society we must confront and try to address.
All right. Yesterday I listened to, of course, was it Senator Gloria Thomas, of course, at the press briefing. She spoke a lot about the recent legislation that they wanted to pass. I'm kind of slipping on the name of the legislation, of course, now with young people and stuff like that, and the age of consent and all of these things.
Civil responsibility.
Civil responsibility legislation, yes, I get that. That's it there now. Would that have made much of a difference? Would that have made much of a difference in cases of these nature occurring?
Well, what I think we will need to address, you have both elements, which is the now, and those that are far gone, and then those that we need to prevent or reduce altogether, right? So when you talk about combat, you are looking from it from a tactical standpoint, meaning you have a short-term or a near-term plan, and you have a long-term plan. The short term, of course, would be how can we stop the situation that's going on now. In communities, on a domestic level, that sort of thing, at homes, etc., because that is actually very rampant. And then now, how do you deal with future? And what are the measures that you need to undertake? So yes, the legislation, certainly if passed, can contribute to us combating the issue. But as you just said in the opening, crime is largely determined by the individual, and no amount of legislation will stop a criminal from creating that act. But what we need to deal with is how do we respond to it as a nation, right? What are the sentences, that the minimum sentences that as a society we are willing to accept? What are the requirements we might be willing to accept as it relates to even the perpetrator himself or herself in whatever instance, getting proper help so that we could reduce the recidivism rate at the His Majesty's prison? So when people go in for one thing, they come out and in next to no time they engage in the same act almost immediately. So that's a cause for concern. So it is a deep introspection that I think we have to do. The legislation certainly we believe can help. This is why we said from day one, what we want to do is to target the young people by empowering them. Because in addition to putting stiffer penalties for criminals themselves, we will not stop criminals from pursuing crime. What we have to do is to now be able to arm our people how to they themselves be able to avoid this whole particular situation, knowing not to pass in dark areas at particular hours, for example. This is education that we must deeply exemplify so that it is embedded, well embedded at a young age in every young child, young boy, young girl, so that they know how to safeguard themselves when they are out, even as adults, train a child early and they will never depart from it. So I think it is twofold if this legislation was passed, and it will benefit. I wouldn't get involved in the politics and about rights of parents, etc., because for me, what I'm saying as a young parent, there are things that I may still need to learn. And so a legislation being able to teach my children at a young age will help to enhance my ability to take care of them and to safeguard and protect them for the future.
And then, sometimes you still have no control over individuals' minds.
What they decide, yeah.
I just want to tap on this, and because another extent of our conversation this morning, but prison reform.
Right.
From you being part of government and so forth, in Canada and so forth, prison reform is important in Grenada.
Yes.
We see a lot of, repeat offenders from time to time. So are individuals going into the prisons and getting that opportunity to change themselves, reform, as you said, goes to the individual being reformed and so forth. How serious of a thought, is government having in terms of that? Because, in terms of the repeat offenders and all, someone go in for a couple of months, comes back out, do the same thing, go back in a couple of months, come back out, commit those same crimes all the time. With the exception of what happened recently is a clear example of that. Was in for the same problem, comes back out and commits the same crime again. How does the government looking at that?
Right. Well, it's a very serious concern. There are instances of prisoners coming out of prison and being able to depart from that which they were incarcerated for. But by and large, I think the challenge is that similar to the crime itself, where it's almost an individual decision to go that route. The idea of the recidivism and its rate is largely subjected to the inmate himself, and wanting to go back himself, and so you have to want to change,
yes,
right?
Yes.
There's old saying, you can bring the horse to the well but you can't force it to drink, and so even in the face of that, I think a major part of it has to do with the environment in which criminals are being brought up. It is very easy when they come from prison and they return home in the same environment, probably they were abused, etc., etc. The mind just brings them back to that point which made them tick in the first instance to committing crimes, and so we have to look at it from that angle. But I think it speaks a lot on discipline. I was just speaking with my nephew yesterday with his lack of discipline, and I would say it publicly, because sometimes we hide these things, because discipline in children doesn't always have to resort to belt and all these licks, but you can dialogue, you can talk. And part of the challenge is the hypocrisy in society, where we hide a lot of things. Back in the days, you say the elderly would tell the girls, don't touch a boy hand, you'll get pregnant. Essentially what they're saying to them is that once you start, or you slip, you slide, because you'll fall for them, that sort of thing. So they were trying to guard them, at least in their way. But it came across largely as limited education and backwardness. And what that did was, rather than express that young people will have raging hormones, they will go into this, etc., rather than express that, it is something that we shield and get very sensitive as a society about, rather than trying to get people to understand how to manage the emotions, how to treat with the urges, so that you can manage your tendency to rape, be violent, or commit a crime. So it speaks to a lack of discipline nationally throughout the country when dealing with family discipline of children. And what is interesting, in most cases, when you look at these types of criminals, they come from generally large families. And I'm saying, just like the principle of the classroom, for example, where you have 33 students, 1, 2, 3 might do exceptionally well, but a vast majority generally remains average or below average. And it's because the attention is not there to serve every single child. Some people come from diverse backgrounds, and it's very difficult to deal with them as a teacher in classroom. So the point is, people are going to fall on the radar. But when we talk about criminal justice reform, prison reform, we need to talk to the judiciary, the lawyers. They have to be a part of the conversation. And again, it's not a conversation to blame and say, well, they're representing criminals, etc. They could talk, and they should be invited to talk and give suggestions, give solutions. And all of us as a united front, the country should be able to come up with solutions. I think if we are mature enough and we could say we have a problem, I think we could get to the point where we could address it.
Okay, great. We're due for a break, so let's take it away. Come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after the break.
My name is Liselle Walcott. I'm a staff nurse at the General Hospital for the past 16 years. At the Infection Control Department, we do surveillance for communicable diseases or hospital-acquired infections. We do outbreak investigations. So any issues we have, we would investigate it, find out the cause, and we would do recommendations and interventions to all relevant departments. Thus far, with Mount Sinai, we are looking at ways of improving hand hygiene. Hand hygiene has been proven to be one of the most important practice you could do to break the chain of infection. Working along with Mount Sinai, I foresee that it would be a very good thing for us. They are looking into the products that we use, the practices that we do. Going forward, we'll be able to achieve a very high level of compliance and safety across the board for everyone.
The countdown is on for the most exciting relay showdown in the nation. The IMA National Relay Meet, carded for Saturday, February 21st, 2026, 3 p.m. at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Come witness speed, relentless competition, and heart-pounding relays that will keep you at the edge of your seats from start to finish. The island's fastest teams will battle for glory, but who will rise to the top and claim the prizes? You have to be there to see live. Admission finish line $50, main stand $30, secondary stand $20, and bleachers $15. Children 12 and under pay $15 for main and secondary stands and bleachers. Get your tickets. Feel the speed. The IMA National Relay Meet 2026, the ultimate relay experience.
Camahorn Boat, a powerful multimedia production, presented at Carafesta 15, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs. One big performance, only at the Grenada Trade Center on Saturday, 7th March at 7 p.m. The Camahorn Boat is the ship of state, Grenada, sailing to its destiny. The Camahorn Boat is a call for unity, an exciting story about patriotism, played out by Grenada's best acting talents, featuring Samuel Ogilvie, Robert White, Debbie Gilchrist, Bianchi Toussaint, Dillian Walters, and others. Come out and join us in celebrating our Grenadianness on Saturday, 7th March, 7 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center. Admission almost free. Advance tickets are $50, $65 at the door. Your ticket outlets: Giddens Pharmacy Grand Anse, Art and Soul Bookstore, Spiceline Mall, Mitchell's Pharmacy Grand Anse, 3B's Shoe Store, downtown St. George, and other places. Bring out the entire family and enjoy a wonderful evening of Grenadian theater on 7th March at Grenada Trade Center, 7 p.m.
welcome back once again to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers once again. All around RedHead, welcome back to today's edition. Let's get into the conversation once again this morning. Recently, I've been noticing, of course, the National Democratic Congress being re-endorsements of the various candidates who will be, of course, running in the various constituencies. How is that process going along?
Well, I may not be able to give detail, but I would say it's going pretty fair. Okay, we are always oiling the machinery. You may recall last year we held 2 massive rallies of mobilizing our base and to keep our base well engaged in the party structure, what is taking place in government, and inform them. And so it is part of our natural process of ongoing oiling of the machinery politically.
All right. And not to put you on the spot, we look at the election anytime soon, sir?
Well, you'll have to ask the Honorable Prime Minister the question. You'll have to ask the Prime Minister the question.
Yeah, hope to get him on the program soon and probably ask him that directly.
No problem.
See how that feels.
No problem.
So, the National Democratic gets that. You continue to be the PRO. How are things within the organization?
We're very stable. This probably is one of the better days that, when I say better days, I mean overall with the organization. We are satisfied. We have commenced, for example, the purchase of our property as a political organization. We have been able to build the infrastructure of the party a lot better than it were in terms of when it was met in 2021. We have been able to re-energize and keep the base energized. This is now midpoint of our term. To this point where we are confident that all this whole talk about one-term government and so on, we will certainly be able to break that and that chain. We are confident that we are doing the necessary things, not just to transform Grenada, but to maintain the National Democratic Congress as the very major and important choice for the electorate in the next election. And we are doing so not by engaging in reckless behaviors, not by engaging in emotional and irrational thought. So, for example, the party has not sued anyone, notwithstanding this mass amount of misinformation that is going out there, simply because we want to say to our people that as public officials, you must accept that you have to open yourself to scrutiny, and in some instances, unfairly so. And that even though that scrutiny comes, we don't hold anything personal against anybody. We believe in the country, Grenada, and we want to develop Grenada. And so the interest, by and large, is around Grenada. So as I mentioned, this is a peaceful time for the National Democratic Congress, and we welcome it very much so. You
continue to be the peer, as I mentioned before. How has it been? The challenges, and so forth, the being a peer, how has that been for you thus far? How are you coping along with it? I would say good, because I see you from time to time, but how has it been for you holding on to that particular...
No, well, I think more so is about balancing all the positions. I remain the PRO, Member of Parliament. You certainly will have obligations that you engage direct with government on. You have obligations for, in my instance, my school. I have obligations with my family. So I guess the challenge for me, I would say, as PRO, is always to balance it. And as PRO, you always have to listen. So a large portion of my mornings are consumed sometimes with telephone calls of all kinds of concerns from all over the world. All right, so, just how people interact, who they want to talk with in the party, that sort of thing. And to a large extent, having taken the position, I think I've been very much consumed with a lot of people calling, reaching out, and so on in that manner. And sometimes it gets very difficult to go and follow up on stuff because you are so much consumed with situations and engaging people through the medium of telephone. But so I would say that's another challenge. But it's a lot of work. And again, having loved politics from a very tender age, introduced to it by my father, I think it is going pretty okay. It does have its good days and bad days. In some instances, as a PRO, you could get some things right. You could also get some things wrong. And it is not a very simple thing to balance because, as mentioned, we are dealing with a situation where globally misinformation is probably one of the biggest threats to any organization or country at this given time. And so it's about balancing, it's about managing, and it's about doing your best.
All right. Let's talk a wee bit about some of the recent, constituency projects that are taking place. Recently I saw there were a couple of wars, housing handed over and so forth, and the Build Back Better projects, the Willis, road rehabilitation and so forth. Talk to me in relation to that.
Right, sure. So what I would say, let me just start off with the Nawasa project because it has commenced. Yeah, it's currently ongoing.
I want to talk to you about it, but I was going to seep it in just a little bit. But
sure.
If you want to kick it off,
no problem. I'll kick it off with that because it's very urgent one. So Nawasa has commenced the 2 projects. The first one is about building the tank up in Chantilly. That's in, you could say, Upper Ravine area at the top there, which takes you back to the Hills of Eyes through Tempe. So that is ongoing and it's going pretty okay. I was up there only recently. I just peeked at it because it's kind of out of bounds. But so far it's going well. This will help to enhance the catchment system and to be able to feed into Mount Parnassus, some of these other areas that normally have real water woes whenever dry season is extreme. And secondly, they are relaying the pipes from the Vendom Nawasa plant all the way back down to Decol gas station and through Tempe, and so they will commence. I would say that I had to intervene as Member of Parliament to ensure that we didn't see a repeat as the Granite situation, and so I am very pleased with the approach now being taken by Nawasa and the contractor to be able to manage this project a lot better. I think what I want to encourage is professionalism. And notwithstanding that sometimes when government engages in contract, and I say government here loosely because Nawasa is an entity of government, but Nawasa is the implementing agency of this specific project, G-Cruise project. But there is sometimes things that occur sometimes that cause serious disruption for constituents, and then ultimately the government, the Member of Parliament will have to take responsibility. So I'm very pleased with the approach thus far. What we have done was to meet with the Ministry of Infrastructure, meet with the RGPF to discuss, personally, and my team, to discuss the bypass roads. And so we are awaiting the commencement of a few bypass roads to be able to enhance traffic diversion once the road is being dug up. The other thing is, because there's a deadline, we want to be able to complete these bypass roads so that it serves as emergency access in the event that there is some unforeseen circumstance with this specific project, given the fact that it's not handled centrally, either through us at the constituency level or the Ministry of Infrastructure. And so, all in all, I am satisfied with the level of professionalism I am seeing on the onset with this particular project, and I wish them all the best and success in its completion.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. So we talk about the Nawasa projects, and I did mention, of course, some of the recent
housing,
the housing, and of course the Willis rehabilitation and so forth.
Right, sure. So as it relates to housing, we are on track to complete probably second most nationally. This is not just something to boast about, but it also speaks to, by and large, a lack of proper and structured housing that existed before. Me providing housing is something which I did campaign on, and so I'm happy that we are up there in the top tier. However, I will make the complaint that in some instances, some contractors do very poor work, and we have to reel from that impact. In some instances, even people exploit the opportunity and they lie in some instances about where they are living, who has permission, that sort of thing, and then the government ultimately has to either pull back, break down, etc. And it is almost tantamount to wastage because it's taxpayers' money. And if you're getting a little help, my expectation is that the first thing at least you should do is to be honest and straightforward about it. But notwithstanding that, we have seen tremendous success. We are satisfied that the amount of housing that we have been providing by way of assistance, building new homes for families, is something that augurs well for us. It helps to go into and feed into the plan and focus of building a stable democracy in St. George Northeast and a very progressive constituency. And so we are satisfied with that. As it relates to the Willis Road, Honorable Prime Minister spoke to the recommencement of the project. It's expected to recommence in March of 2026. Okay. And so we look forward to its recommencement and completion once and for all.
There was a recent amputee support initiative. Yes. I want you to talk to me about that because I'm hearing a lot of positives in relation to that.
Right. Well, so I want to highlight Mr. Emmanuel Jones, a constituent of mine residing in Boca. He was the one who came to my office on several occasions to get help, so to speak, with the prosthetic limbs. He had lost leg, and so he needed the assistance. We went through many evenings trying to find a solution for him, and I want to commend him for his commitment and his stick-to-itiveness. He never gave up, and it was very impressive to see that even he himself will come to me to say, MP, I get a contact for somebody and a thing. I say, give me the contact, let's see if we can make the contact. And so we eventually became successful, and we were able to contact a company down in Trinidad and Tobago. And in Trinidad, that company is very friendly to us because they express a lot of Grenadians need prosthetic limbs and have always reached out but just can't afford to go to Trinidad because of the flights, accommodation, etc., the costs with it in addition to the purchase of the limb. And so it was important to have that joint discussion. I took personal liberty to invite the company to dialogue with at least 3 ministries at one given time. The one which reached out first was the Ministry of MIT, and within less than maybe a month they were able to bring the representative here. We had the discussion and then we put plans in motion, and so I'm very happy to lead this, and as you see, I don't have to hold a portfolio in cabinet to get work done, because that's part of the problem that people would normally express. You can actually get work done outside of cabinet, and so it's important that we do that, because leadership is not a title or position. Leadership is about getting work done, and so bringing people together, all these other things, influence and so on. So I was very pleased that we could get to this point. I think what we want to do now is to institutionalize Grenada's capacity to be able to provide prosthetic limbs and orthotics and things around that nature. So we are in the dialogue. We have the cost. What we did was to measure a total of about 60, between 40 and 60 citizens. The first batch, preparation for the construction, I would use in this context, of their limbs is ongoing. Once that is done, I think they are waiting on a shipment. So once that is done, they will then begin the process of manufacturing the limb at Trinidad and then getting them up here. And so we anticipate somewhere around March, April for the first 60 for citizens to start getting, or at least begin, right? We'll go in stages or batches, which is, we'll say about 10, the first 10 or so, just to organize it, because we don't want the program to be loose and all over the place. The other thing, there's a cost to it, and so what we have sought to do was to get the private sector somewhat involved, and in a sense, adopt a leg, that kind of thing, just sponsor somebody, and to just be a good corporate citizen in doing it.
All right, great. We do for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the Point, Classic Radio TV and TV. We will be right back.
For 35 years.
Do you own an antique, a classic, a custom-built car or motorcycle, or a fully loaded modern car or truck? Come, show off your ride. Register now to be part of Grenada Auto Fest, and you can win part of the grand prize of over $50,000 in cash and prizes. Register online via our social media pages or at www.grenadaautofest.com. Early bird registration has been extended to 31st January 2026, Saturday, March 14th, at the Royal St. John's Playing Field. We recognize our partner, Raggedy Rental Motors and Son Company, True Blue Bay Boutique Resort, On The Spot Hardware, and all the companies that sponsored our category prizes. Remember, over $50,000 in cash and prizes to be won. Grenada Auto Fest, Saturday, March 14, Tantin.
This Valentine, celebrate under the stars at Love Fest. Saturday, February 14th at Quarantine Point Recreational Park from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Featuring all the way from Antigua, Burning Flames. Also live, Sabrina Francis, Rita, and Ultimate Perfections Band, Pan Wizards, and more. General admission starts at $100. Grab a couple special for only $180 while stocks last. Tickets are available at Grenadian Optical, Eventbrite, and GoToFed.com. Upgrade your experience with our bottle service, Sweetheart Table for Two, or a more private Cupid's Cabana. Our Love Fest partners, Lashington Agency, Sunrise Airways, Netherlands Insurance, GBN, Boss FM, Grenada Tourism Authority, Flow. Produced by Upstage. Love Fest is on Valentine's Day, Saturday, February 14th, starting 6 p.m. at Quarantine Point.
Payments shouldn't slow you down. Tap your phone to pay with Apple Pay or Google Pay. No need to carry cards or even your wallet. Freedom of online shopping that actually works with the Spot Pay Calypso card. Send and receive money with friends, locally and securely. Receive money from the U.S. in seconds and spend it right away. Send and spend across the Caribbean and all over the world. All with one app. Spot Pay. Money reimagined.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. This segment also, we of course would invite our listeners and viewers. If you want to chime in on the conversation, there may be a question you would like to ask. Of course, Ron read with us this morning. Feel free to do so. I beg of you to keep your contribution as short as possible. Just ask your direct question, number one, so we can accommodate as many callers as possible in this segment this morning. We do have our first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, well, what I want to comment about the guy that committed this gruesome crime up in St. Andrews. No, he now came from jail, right? He now come from the prison, and he was released. And what has happened to these fellas and them? They are recidivistas. They go in jail on numerous occasions. And when they're there in the prison, what happens? It has two seasoned criminal of these without really where these fellas mentored. Where come on, oh, he'd have gangster, he'd have this, and they kind of go something them doesn't talking about. What they learn from these fellas. They try to, the commissioner of prison, they be best and try to keep these fellas and them away from these kind of men. You know what I'm speaking about, right? Hello?
Okay,
yes,
caller. Okay, thank you.
You know who I'm speaking about, right? So I wish he could really buckle up on them. Okay, all the best.
All right, thank you, caller, for your contribution. But it always goes back to what we mentioned before.
Prison reform.
Every individual has a mind of their own. You understand? And yes, there are individuals that could influence you.
That's correct.
But in the final analysis, the decision is yours. The decision is yours. We do have another caller. We lost that caller there. 435-2041. 435-2041. The lines are open. We're taking your calls. You can call via the WhatsApp or the direct line. We go back to the phone line. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome. Caller, you may have to turn whatever device you have in the background down,
please. GT, and morning to the representative of Northeast St. George.
Good morning.
Morning.
It always refreshes me when some of the issues that are discussed is things I've been trying to get our people to understand. The issue of crime, for instance, is not as simple as people think. It has its basis in the condition which people are being exposed to. If you permit me to say this, I remember I was on a course in Dominica, and I used to put on the TV to give me a time, idea of the time in preparation for going to the stuff. And one morning I had a TV, and I heard this top neurosurgeon in the United States, talking about how he used to be examining the brains of criminals, common criminals. I mean, serious criminals. So he decided one day to do a test on himself. So he asked his colleague to do it, and he was surprised. He had brain patterns similar to the criminals and them. So he went to his family and said, what happened? And they revealed that there was some criminality in his family. So when he further examined and asked the question, how come he didn't turn up a victim? I mean, he didn't become caught up in criminality and so on. It was because of the environment he grew up in. He grew up in a loving, caring, stimulating environment. So those things didn't latch in on him, for want of a better word. So if we expose people to all kinds of situations where there's abuse to parenting or something like that, when the fruits come bare, and we start acting as we are, we're surprised. We are, and I like the ministers, the representatives say, are we creating, manufacturing criminals? And I contend we are. Years ago, I criticized how we do preschool and daycare center. I described those centers as mind destruction center because my experience, the worst facility near where my office was, and I saw the damage that was being done on children. So unless we be honest, radically honest, and examine and not become, as you said, self-righteous or wherever it is, we have all failed. We fail in every way. For instance, after invasion, we decided to dismantle anything that could have contribute to stability, to social, cohesion and things. So we are experiencing the fallout. In addition to the poor diet and everything, we need to have a comprehensive, maybe intergenerational dialogue that we go able to solve the problem. There's a disconnect between the young and the old. So many things. People are lonely. So we need to, and all this religiosity and so on. We wouldn't get to heaven, get us heaven in the first instance, but we're fooling ourselves. So, finally, unless we take a community development-led approach to especially trying to solve the problems that we have, and not trying to escape from it and trying to religiousize it, unless we take that approach, we don't know each other anymore. We don't know all this talk about we live in a thing. We don't know each other anymore. So when things happen, we are surprised. Let us begin again to try to know each other. But I know some people are frightened because they think revolution would happen. No, you don't have to. Revolution of mind that we need, no revolution in guns and so on. We need to have it. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Appreciate your contribution this morning. Caller into the whole.
It's deep. Yes. So I agree with the caller fully, and particularly the suggestion of the community effort to solve that problem.
All right, we do have another caller. Caller at WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live. Good morning to you.
Good morning, GT. Good morning. Family.
Good morning, caller.
Okay, yesterday in the news conference, right? Okay, we had Sister Gloria talk about basically like time spent in the prison, right? And she said like instead of the 12 months, some people get like maybe 9 months for good behavior and things. You know what I mean? So Ron, can you tell me that if you think legislation should pass, you know what I mean, to make people spend the full 12 months, right? Or we should have something as what we call like a maximum prison for guys who commit this heinous crime. Okay, my second question to you, Ron. In 2016, right? 2016, we know Ariel Bola was brutally taken away from us, right? And there was 6 women in Parliament. Some of them is mothers. And not even one legislation was passed. All right? And we see this new act that the Prime Minister came up with concerning the 12-year children. I mean, and the same set of people who was there, didn't do nothing for Ariel Bola, are the biggest ones that objecting and saying like they're trying to take parents' rights. And I mean, I want to know what is your opinion on that? I mean, last thing now, concerning the last guy that was who joined the NNP, all right? Okay, we know at the time last year, some documents were supposed to be sent out for the opposition. And they did not get the documents and because of a negligence of one of the clerks. So I want to know if the same guy that was named by Kit Mitchell to represent him was the clerk at this time. I just need clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
Yes, caller. Thank you very much. So, as it relates to the first point that you raised, yes, I think more so, I can't sit here and say legislation alone is going to solve the problem, GT, as mentioned earlier on, but we probably need a minimum sentence, and a minimum sentence to be extremely high. But I think the most important thing is to ensure that we have the sentencing as strict as it should be when it comes to that. Because of the prevalence of it, the judiciary has to review their methods. We can't say that we could force them, but certainly I think we should encourage a conversation around that to be able to treat with these matters. But locking people up in jail, as we all agree, is not going to help solve the problem. And so the capacity of the jail cells, the prison itself, and prison reform, the Honorable Prime Minister did mention about that, so it's a cause for concern. As it relates to the age of civil responsibility versus what has happened for a long time, it speaks to, in my humble opinion, I give my opinion, a level of hypocrisy that exists in our society. If you're not in government, you criticize. If you are in government, you cry. And so you do absolutely nothing. Nothing changes at the end of the day. And we have the outrage, we have the outburst, but it's only 8 days and then it dies down. The next we'll talk might be about run, do something. That's what everybody's talking about, rather than focusing on how do we solve problems. And society is largely driven by this emotive social media posts kind of thing, which peaks for 8 days generally, and then after 8 days everybody gone back to living almost the same. COVID is a real and classic example, and so I don't know of any person who today references COVID-19 to say it made them make this genuine change. You might have one or two, but that speaks to it. And then finally, I think an issue was raised about the
I used to be referring to some late filing by the clerk of Parliament.
Right, yeah, well, I assume is a new person over on the opposition. I can't speak to that. What I would say is that he was definitely not, but he was the assistant to the clerk. I don't know what really transpired, but what I would say to this is that I cannot get into where I sit here now or as a representative of the party. I can't get into any details because I don't know what his role was.
Okay, great. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Jay.
Good morning.
How are you doing? I do believe that
Caller, for some reason you are very, very low and not fixed that. We've been having that issue with you from time to time.
I'm back now, right?
Yes, much better. Go right ahead, please.
For some reason, I believe that raping is genetic. I believe that most people that rape, I don't think we are creating rapers. I think this is them just on. And I never seen a man that raped somebody change. So I don't know why they keep letting this now on the street, because they wouldn't change. Once a man has any mind, that's how you get off. You have to do it. I think we should give them more longer sentence and keep them in jail for a longer period of time. My second point is that that project in Liverpool. I mean, when NP was in office, I see you had a lot of protesters, and they were talking about the environmental impacts of that area. And somehow, all the protesters want to see nobody is talking about this project, what it's going to do to our area. Just saying that I support the project. I do know that there's a lot of impact on this with that project in that area. And my third point, Brother Ron, the last time we spoke about that project, 500, you said that they had a lot of money they had to spend all over the place. But Brother Ron, just do your own math for yourself. Get the square foot of a house, multiply the width by the length. Let's say 30 by 30. Right? 900 square foot. Multiply by $400 to $360,000. Let's say a house will be cost about $400,000. How come this 70 houses come up to $17 million? Something wrong with the figure, and that figure is given by the government. So I don't know how we are not challenging that, because that don't make any sense. $17 million for 17 low-income houses? That don't make no sense at all. Anybody do the figures on how they realize that these figures are not right. Have a nice day, sir.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Yeah, so probably for the first part of what the caller mentioned, I could understand his reasoning. I can't say I share it all together. No, for his last point, certainly, I never said that we spent money all over the place. That's one. Two, as it relates to the housing that is being built under Project 500, the monies that are spent up there includes the infrastructure for the road, the water, all the other amenities that would be required for a village. It was not only spent on house, it also took into account equipment, tractors, and some other stuff that was related to the construction of the projects, which is inclusive of the 17 homes. It is not only for the homes alone.
Okay, we do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. You're live. Good morning.
Yes, so good morning. How are you going?
Doing great. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, I want to know if this is true. I am hearing that the fellow who committed those crimes, because I'm looking at the pattern of the crimes that he committed. When a man raped a woman, probably he felt shame or something like that, and that state he might run and hide and things like that. But this one, it is said that he's wanted. He was being searched for attempting to rape a 7-year-old child in the Lackalome area. Then he raped and killed this one. And then suddenly he went by an 80-year-old woman and do something bad. This is not a normal pattern of criminal activity unless somebody is possessed. Something is wrong that I do not know, but I'm also hearing, now this among to be true now. I also hearing that this man is the witness of the death of his mother with a hammer by his stepfather. I don't know if that is true. If this thing could hamper an individual that could make them a criminal for the rest of their lives. So, but thirdly, I want to make this important point with the way in which our society is being looked after. Ms. Kami, who always call on an FM station, made an important point the other day. She left and gone in the market, have a camera on her phone. Relation to her house is theft. Somebody went in the house and thief, and suddenly she couldn't see anything on the camera anymore. When she went home, she's saying that she had to call the police, and a 13-year-old child ended up going and take the camera, rip off the camera, and sell it. And police recover one. They go and they get one that they sold. And the mother is defending the child. I am wondering, the mothers that complain, where is the fathers? They have the child around for all this. What is the relationship of mothers training their children to be good and helping their children to become criminal? Always defending these type of activities. I think mothers need to take a more strict role. Because at every instant when something gone wrong, they say, the father wasn't there, but you have the child for all these years, seeing about the child, and you still, while you're blaming the father, the child gone bad, and you're still defending the child, cursing people for bad habits of a child. I think society needs to take a look at how we train our children And I agree with the callers who are supporting a new community approach to criminal solving might be the best way of helping the police force and helping the country go better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. I'm not sure if you have a response for the caller.
Well, no, excellent contribution in the end. What I would say as it relates to the details of the case that he spoke of, I have absolutely no verification, so I don't know about that. But what I would say is the issue as it relates primarily to crime still comes down to how do we respond to it. No, I am saying that the age of civil responsibility is something that we have put forward as an option. It helps with the children. It empowers them with the knowledge, training, access to healthcare around that question of abuse, for example. And the other legislations that might be required, which, and maybe even not legislations, but programs to help contribute to the all-inclusive approach is something that we need to discuss. We need to find what those are and work towards it.
Okay, we do have another caller. Caller, you're live via the direct line. Good morning.
Mr. Telesford, so greetings. Can you hear me well, sir?
Go right ahead, please, sir.
My contribution this morning basically two comments. Observation, but critical observations. I wish to commend some of the previous callers there. I think the first one was one, and the last one, and somewhere in the middle was relative to where the state or country today. So many things happen. Clearly, time changes. But it is time that we correct or make efforts to correct the deficiencies, the shortcomings of society. We do that by the modern day theory called a constituent assembly. The Constituent Assembly didn't begin recently. It came as far as the days of Montesquieu at the end of the 18th century in France. It established a couple of things. Separation of powers is one. But apart from that, the Constitution Convention, Constitution Congress, Constitution, one again, Assembly. Three of them. They are today put into one theory, a constituent assembly. This is the direction because the people of this country have to understand that the only way we can correct the anomalies, the misinterpretation, the wrongdoing, to combat the sleaze, malfeasance, and grift that partisan politician demagogues imposing on the people, abusing the people of the country, and they don't want to change anything. We continue to be linked to a monarch, and you're lying to the people openly. But my final comment is this. I heard your guest there speak of certain things that he was able to do. He is not a minister as far as the situation is in this country. He's been elected as a parliamentary representative. Now, he has a certain responsibility. But he's taken it on his own now, superseding other ministries, making arrangements with people and firms in Trinidad to come and to produce. No, there's nothing wrong in that. But there's a ministry for that. How does he come? Where does he get the authority? This is where separation of powers comes. And this is what these people are doing, abusing that. They call that use of authority. Knows in the thing that they have no business in. And this is where the people's monies are spent in grift, in sleaze, malfeasance, corruption, and on exposing their untrustworthiness. Grenadians understand it once and for all. This system of government cannot continue in this country if you want to see any change. I urge you to think about it. Assembly, what it does and what it can do, so that we as a people, not lawyers, not politicians, but as a people, different groups, skills, professions, the common man on the street, even the criminal, you had to bring him inside and let him tell you why he does what he does, so that we can resolve the problems into the future. These people are manipulators. We have to get rid of them as soon as possible. But prepare ourselves, Grenadians, and don't let them make you believe that you don't know. You know, we know how to run this country. They are just abusers. Deceitful, hypocrite, unjust, corrupt and untrustworthy people. Woe unto them who continue to deceive this here country. Thank you very much, Mr. Telesford. Do have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Have a good morning yourself. Also, any response to the
well, no, just quickly, just to say, Brother Rulo, listen, man, I don't know what all of this is for. I am saying to you, as it relates to this specific prosthetic limb, this is something that we are trying to get government and the private sector to lead on. It is going to provide an opportunity and build the capacity of the country to provide prosthetic limbs to Grenadians who otherwise did not have. As it relates to my effort, it is in line with ministers, it is in line with cabinet. This is the directive of Prime Minister, this is the directive of Minister of MIT, and so we are coordinating in that effort. My brother, anything else more than that, based on what you have expressed, clearly you have something deeper, and I am saying here openly that what you are doing is misleading the public and misinforming the public, right? Therefore, my recommendation is that I think we need to get some help to get the right conversations open. So it's one thing to say, but the people can't lead themselves just willy-nilly. And we all together have to come towards that. So spreading lies on me as a member of parliament or saying I do this and corruption and all these other things without any facts, without any evidence, is not going to help us get to the constituency assemblies, because how are we going to manage that? Who is going to manage that? So we have to be frank, we have to be honest about this whole situation. Thank you.
Okay. We do have another caller, which will be our final caller for the morning. Caller via WhatsApp, you're live. Good morning, and I beg of you to be brief for time purposes, please.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Institutions that they are not functioning. You have the Grenada Legal Council, which is about 7 members. You have about 5 lawyers on there. You cannot, on their website, you cannot even get a list of legal practitioners who have certificates that are allowed to legally practice in Grenada. And I think that is something that the government needs to address, the Ministry of Legal Affairs, because the Attorney General is a member there, needs to address. So that if someone needs a lawyer, they can go on our website, see who are all the lawyers who have legal certificates and their field of practice. There are some other issues. It is now 42 days that fishermen and exporters cannot export fish to the U.S. Still, the government has not identified where exactly the problem arose with regard to who received communication or email. And we cannot solve our problems by not knowing. So I think that is something that needs to be addressed. Also, Brother Ron, there are people who have supported you and the NDC government over the years. They need assistance. It should not be taken. I don't care whether the person is NNP, NDC, GOLP, or whatever P. It should not be taken 13 months or more for people within ministries to get things done. Because I know from my own experience that you can get things done much faster than that. And it happens when you have connections. It happens when people know who to go to. It happens when you know some of the rules. So you have people coming and inspect things and you have no response. 13 months? No, that is unacceptable. We could accept 6 months, but not 13 months for very simple things. A letter of permission to make sure you have a sanitary facility for somebody who's selling to the public. And on the final score, we have a senator who has been doing his work. He's trying his best. But, brother, in a certain constituency on the government side, we cannot have that senator representing people when he doesn't even want people to see his face when he's driving in his vehicle. As a matter of fact, someone was teaching people to cook. Yes, and to do other things at a facility that has not been used for years, a community center that has not been used for years. And it is alleged that the gentleman asked the woman to leave. I don't care if the woman is NDC, NNP, TNP, GOLP, or whatever she is. If she is doing something that is helping young people, you cannot have somebody who wants to represent people chasing somebody away. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. And folks, that was our final caller for the morning. Response to calling anything?
Right. Well, yeah, probably we could look into the concerns that the caller is and see how we could resolve them. So probably the fish thing, we could get a response to it at a later stage. What I would say is that as we conclude this program, there is a candlelight vigil for the young lady up in Crowshoe. We are asking everyone to turn out. One was held already, a more private, smaller one, but now is a national one. on, and to, show yourself in solidarity with the family. Please support the family in whatever way you can. Grenadians far and wide. It's going to be a difficult moment for them, but we certainly, as an administration and government, we are prepared to do whatever we can to keep this family stable during this very difficult time of their loss.
Once again, MP Ron RedHead, I want to thank you a whole lot for being on the program this morning. Bit of extended one, a wee bit, but until we do this again, have a good day. What's left of it.
No problem.
Hey, folks, that's how we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. Join me again tomorrow for another edition. Until then, have a good one, folks. Goodbye.